There we go. Sorry about all the technical challenges.
Yeah, we earlier had a different look. We actually had an earlier location, and we had to change last minute. So
Yeah, it looks like we scared off the one person because when I didn't have it set on the stage, it wasn't transmitting the audio, so they couldn't even hear me asking for
audio feedback.
audio feedback. And so if I make a quick post here on Facebook, we are live right now. A bit late, but we're here.
Good morning. If you are on, let us know that you're on.
Yeah, we just want to test to make sure everybody can see us, and whatnot. So let me set the stage for today's topic, and I've got well, it's a topic that comes up all the time. But first, why are we here in Wisconsin, Christine?
We are here at a standard process farm tour event and to see their factories and see how they grow their crops organically. And that's where it starts. It starts on the field and how they take care of their organic farms so they can have an organic product that is sufficient for healing.
Yeah. And then we had 2 days so far in the classroom learning about the products, but learning from I think really a functional nutrition perspective, clinical
Absolutely.
nutrition,
Yeah.
And it's I think when you understand how what goes into the products, that really builds the trust and confidence that I have, the more I learn about the products, and then I'm willing to want to use them on my clients.
Right. You start thinking of people. I know I did yesterday. I started thinking about people that I'm working with nutritionally, and it just kind of triggers, oh, this person or that person, and I feel like Holy Spirit does that for me. So
Yeah.
kind of like leads me. Yeah.
Right. So we're going to talk. We have some hard hitting, well, we call them medical, I call them medical lies.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The lies that we have all been talked about. So I want to start this morning with a question. How many of you have been told your cholesterol is too high? How many of you are on a statin right now? Okay. How many of you have been told to cut the salt, watch the fat, take the pill, and come back in 6 months? Okay. I want you to sit with that for a second, because what I'm about to tell you, what we're about to tell you, is going to land differently than what you heard in that exam room. Everything you have been told about cholesterol and most of what you've been told about salt is wrong. Not slightly off, not outdated, wrong at the foundation. Built on a study that was rigged, reinforced by an industry that profits from your fear, and repeated so many times by so many white coats that it became conventional wisdom. And conventional wisdom in this case has made people sicker. Now, I'm not here to scare you. I'm here to give you the truth, the same truth that research has been quietly confirming for decades while the prescription pads kept moving. Your body makes cholesterol on purpose every single day because it needs it for your brain, your hormones, your cell membranes, your immune system. And when someone hands you a drug to force those numbers down, they are not fixing a problem. They're creating new ones. So joining me this morning is, as I said, Christine Jennings, a licensed massage therapist, but even, dare I say, even better.
Absolutely.
I know you've done massage therapy for 20 years. Even better, she's a QNT, a quantum nutrition practitioner and health coach, just like I am. Okay. And someone I trust to speak plainly about what we're both seeing in our practices. This is her third time on the show, and she always brings it. Christine, welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you for having me again.
Yeah. So we're going to cover cholesterol, statin, salt, adrenal health, and what you should actually be doing this summer to take care of yourself with no fear. Okay. So grab your coffee. I had to find mine. It was interesting. I had a little timing snafu, but kind of, the day unfolds as it's supposed to. So let's dive in with cholesterol. I know I've done a show on cholesterol before in the past, and what I think, I consider it the greatest medical lie of the last 50 years. Well, except for COVID, all the whole COVID pandemic bullshit. I'm going to call that. That's going to pan out to be the greatest devastation to humanity in the century. Okay. But let's focus on cholesterol. Okay. The greatest lie. And so where did that start? In the 1950s, physiologist Ansel Keys, it all started with this guy. He wanted to prove dietary fat caused heart disease. So he had data from 22 countries. He cherry picked 7 of them because they fit in his thesis. The other 15 contradicted him, and he buried them. No surprise there, is there? So what about those 7 countries studied? Wasn't there a 7-country study?
Yes. What about it? Oh my gosh. Well, the 7-country study became the foundation of U.S. Dietary guidelines. And the low-fat, low cholesterol movement was built on a lie told by one man who controlled the data. So
Yeah, it's hard to believe that we put so much. When I hear the story of Ansel Keys, I've read the story over and over, and anybody in holistic health has heard the story, the roots of the story over and over. But the common medical system will not listen to this story.
mhm,
They won't. They're afraid to look at it because it upsets the money machine, the pharmaceutical industry. Because without this story, they wouldn't have been able to pimp out these drugs to us to lower our cholesterol.
right. And
Okay.
so I see when I'm working with people, I'm actually looking at their food journals every week. And some of the things that pop out to me are like the vegetable oil they're using, or the margarine, or Crisco, like how you say that,
Crisco,
Crisco.
yeah.
Yeah, my grandma used to use that all the time. And I try to switch them over to butter, and help them to understand that eggs are not our enemy. So things like that.
Yeah. And there was a thought I had in there while you were talking, sharing that story. Um, oh, uh, it you're raising the point, and I also look at my clients' food journals
Hmm.
because the real answer to getting your cholesterol back into balance is to fix your lifestyle and your diet.
Right.
Cholesterol is 100% manageable through your diet.
Mhm.
Okay. But the challenge is when we let and I used to be in this camp, when we let our diet and our health and our lifestyle just get out of control, a lot of us, and this included me, we get to the point where we don't know how to get the hell out of that pit that we allowed ourselves to go into.
Mhm.
Do you see that with your clients?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, they've relied on their doctors for years, and yes, there's a point to go to a doctor, and that's a whole nother story. But there's a reason, and a what do I want to say? There's a place for doctors.
Yeah.
Yet sometimes I feel like the nutrition side of the information they're feeding us, as a
Society.
society,
Mhm.
like it's just not true. And they're learning, their training of nutrition is very minimal, so take that with a grain of salt. um, but yeah, I feel like they're just out to make another prescription, to give another you know prescription med to hold
Mhm.
their agenda. And you're right, it's all
Yeah.
about money, because we need cholesterol for our whole body. It's the framework of our whole system.
Yeah. And I didn't get the stats before the show, but RFK Jr., I think within the last 2 or 3 weeks, signed a memorandum or a requirement saying that doctors were now, the medical schools were now going to have to start teaching nutrition in the school.
Wow.
And that blows me away that it took this long. And so, folks, you know, I'm not going to get into the whole debate on, Trump and his administration. Um, there's definitely a TDS syndrome out there,
Mhm.
because when you step back and you look at some of the great things that are happening, when I look at the MAHA movement that RFK is a part of, Make Americans Healthy Again, we've
Mhm.
been doing that one on one with our patients, with our clients now. Well, I've been doing it over 17 years.
Been doing it for over 20.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's remarkable to know that perhaps the government is going to finally start educating people the way they need to be. Okay, so when you look back, the American Heart Association, this is, and you touched on Crisco earlier, but they funded significantly by the vegetable oil industry at the time, jumped on board with the Ansel Keys
Mhm.
theory. Okay, Crisco. That's when Crisco and margarine became health foods. Butter and eggs became dangerous. And
Mhm.
folks, if you saw how much butter I eat in a week, it would blow your mind. You would wonder, based off of what we've all been taught before, you would wonder how I'm still alive.
I probably go through a stick of butter in about 2 days.
Yeah, I'm about a stick in a day and in a
Yeah.
day,
Yeah.
day and a half.
Yeah, with my eggs and
Yeah,
yeah, it's
yeah.
probably in 2 days
And
for me.
I eat a shit ton of eggs for breakfast every morning.
Mm-hmm.
I know you do too, but it's
Yep.
crazy, you know. And why we stopped doing that, why people were told to stop doing that, is because the bad word there, cholesterol. Okay,
Mhm.
LDL cholesterol was labeled bad, and the total cholesterol became the number used to scare patients.
Mhm.
Okay, that doctors use to scare patients with. And neither of those framings reflects the science that has emerged in the decades since this Ansel Keys guy.
Mhm.
It's just amazing that that all happened. Did, have you noticed the cholesterol number, how it drops?
Yeah, because I remember in the 1980s it used to be what 300.
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
Now where they dropped it now.
it's down. They want you under 200 usually. You
Mhm.
know, oh my God, you're under 200, folks. If your cholesterol goes that low, you're going to be deficient up here in your brain.
Yeah, think about like people at the care center. Their heads are slumped down. They're not looking at you in the eye. They've lowered their cholesterol levels.
Yeah.
So, yeah, give them some meat,
Yeah, give
some
them some
eggs,
meat, give them some eggs.
butter.
I can't imagine having. It's very seldom do I let a day go by where I don't have eggs in my food.
Mhm.
I'm eating for breakfast 4 to 6 eggs every day.
Mhm.
Okay, but the the LDL cholesterol we need, folks. The body is not going to manufacture something that is dangerous to it.
Mhm.
It's just not
Absolutely.
going to do that. Um, and one of the tests that we run is the um, MVX plus, the Metabolic Vulnerability Index plus test, and that looks at the small LDL.
Mhm.
You know, the small dense LDL particles are a sign of inflammation.
Mhm.
Okay, and the large fluffy LDL particles are largely benign, but standard cholesterol panels don't typically distinguish between those types of cholesterol down to that level.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, there's another one, another study that came out back during the Ansel Keys time. Um, it was the Framingham. I always want to call it the Farmingham, but it's the Framingham Heart Study. Okay, it was one of the longest running cardiovascular studies in history, and they found that after age 50, higher cholesterol was actually associated with lower mortality. Okay. So as I get older, folks, I'm 60 years old. I'm not afraid of my cholesterol, and I've been pumping up around 290, sometimes over 300. The higher that number is, no, I'm not saying that you should go out there and jack that sucker up to, artificial levels like what, 400, over 3, I think over 350, then I would
Mhm.
maybe start to worry a little bit. Um, but
Or ask why the body's doing that.
yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
there would be a reason. So that's a great point, because why does the body have cholesterol?
Right.
So it when you what I frequently tell my patients is my clients is there's a reason that your cholesterol numbers might reflect a higher status. Okay,
Mhm.
it can be an indicator that you do have inflammation going on.
Mhm.
Okay, you have some kind of an injury happening. You were sick. Maybe you just got over a cold or an illness. Okay. Anytime the body is sick and needs to be repaired, the liver will generate cholesterol and jack up your cholesterol so it can repair properly. Okay. So cholesterol is not a bad thing. And this goes back to the Ansel Keys study and what he found when he was looking at the people that had heart attacks and stuff. He found cholesterol in their arteries coming into the heart. Okay. So he deduced in his theory that cholesterol must be bad, that it's causing heart disease. Well, it's not. What was happening was the inflammation in the body wears on the arteries coming into the heart. It causes inflammation in there, and cholesterol then has to go to the scene and try to
Repair.
repair.
Mhm.
Okay, and that's why they found such high levels of cholesterol up in that part of near the heart. So go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, so where the scare comes in, okay, I've got some, if you want references to look at on cholesterol, okay, there's the Ansel Keys study. Um, he did the it's called the 7 country study in 1970. Okay, there's a book that does the critique of it called The Big Fat Surprise. That was in 2014 by the authors Dr. Zoe Harcum and investigative journalist Nina Teicholz. I have that in my notes here. And then there's I don't know what that is. BMJ Open. There's an article. It must be a medical journal. Lack of an association or an inverse association between low density lipoprotein cholesterol and mortality in the elderly. Okay, but Gary Taubes, and I've read this book, had a great book out there called Good Calories, Bad Calories. That was in 2007. So that's a great book. So how does the medical system scare people into, what are they trying to scare them into? You have to lower cholesterol. So what is the biggest hammer that they're going to use to scare us into it?
They're going to use statins. And statins are the best-selling class of drugs in the pharmacy history today. Roughly like 40 million Americans are currently prescribed on them. And
Wow.
that number should alarm everybody, actually.
Yeah, it should. And it really, statins are really the drug that shouldn't exist. Okay. And when my clients come in and ask me, Jeff, hey, Jeff, my doctor wants to put me on cholesterol lowering, and I will absolutely tell them my opinion of that. My opinion is no. Instead of doing that, what should we do? You said it earlier.
Oh, what the statins you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, we always just check and see if they need CoQ10. We should test them and see what their levels,
Yeah.
what they need.
Yeah.
Basically.
Well, and we should look at their lifestyle.
We'll look at lifestyle, look at what they're doing, look at their food. You gotta look at the whole picture.
Yeah, absolutely. To me, when somebody comes in and says, I'm thinking about taking a statin, my first question will be, are you looking at your lifestyle? Have you nailed in your food journal? And
Right.
I like the line that we heard in the workshop yesterday from Dr. David Hogshead.
Yeah.
When his clients come up and say, well, that's so many pills. Well, are you taking it? I can't remember the line now.
You either have to eat the food, or you're gonna have to take a pill.
Take the pills,
basically.
Yeah. So I would rather feed them pills that has nutritive value, that's not synthetic, is organic, that actually helps us drive the purpose. So I will use supplementation to help my clients navigate their lifestyle and food back into health. And when that happens, what happens with the cholesterol numbers?
It lowers it. Yeah.
Yeah. They start to go down. Let's check in real quick on our comments. Good morning. Looks like we have a couple comments out here. Melissa, thank you so much for joining the show. I appreciate you guys who are tuning in. Let us know where you are watching from. It's always fun to see. I'm just realizing I might be off center there a little bit. And then Tracy Burkdahl, thank you so much for listening in. And Tracy says, as a nurse practitioner, I completely agree. 6 years of schooling, nutrition was very minimal, even at the nurse level. And I feel like I have learned more about nutrition over 17 years doing it, and I still feel like I've barely touched it some days.
Yeah, we were just making the comment yesterday that when you're working in the healthcare field, you're never going to stop learning. There's always something to learn. There's always something to dig in a little deeper.
Yeah. it's a constant learning process, and that's why we come to these workshops, so we can learn, keep learning, and then we hear cutting edge stuff. Standard process is always showing us their lab results and how did they study all the flavonoids, all the components of the nutrition, and how it relates to the body. So let's talk about, Christine, how statins work. What are they designed to do?
Well, they're blocking an enzyme called HMG CoA. Uh, well, you can probably say that.
Reductase?
Reductates.
Reductase?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And that enzyme doesn't just make the cholesterol; it also makes the CoQ10. And so they block. So to block the enzyme, you block. So if you block the enzyme, you're blocking CoQ10 production. And so CoQ10 is essential for the mitochondrial energy production. So in layman terms, every cell of your body has a mitochondrial energy production. And so especially the heart, the muscles, you're literally depleting the heart when you're trying to really protect it. So that's very important not to. So if you're going to be on a statin, like you're really just know that you're actually doing really harm on your body long term. And sometimes I feel like people, I know that for my son for a while with colitis, he was on a statin for 21 days, and after watching him for 3.5 years in major pain, I knew that would give him a little relief temporarily, but I knew it wasn't the long-term answer. And the only reason I allowed it was because, and not that I allowed it, but he's an adult, he can do whatever he wants. But the reason why I said yes at first was because I was pivoting and I was starting to learn all this stuff. I hadn't even got into the quantum nutrition testing yet. I was searching still at that very moment, so I hadn't got into it yet. And but I did have enough knowledge to know that that was a very short-term thing for my son, to give him a little relief, but it wasn't the long-term answer. And I knew it was going to do more harm in the end if he stayed on it.
Right, right. Well, there's a list of side effects that are systematically under disclosed. These are things that the doctors will, well, they don't want to talk to you about it. There's muscle pain and weakness, as you said with your son, the myopathy. Okay. There's rhabdomyolysis in severe cases. There's cognitive decline and memory loss. Okay. And this is the huge one that if you go into, I think you said it earlier in the show, go into a primary care or a assisted living facility where these people are, and this used to include my mom, they would medicate them and give them statins because they think that they're helping, and they're not. It erodes the brain, and it can help create or lead to peripheral neuropathy. You get random pains in your legs, your knees, not your knees, your nerves, I meant to say, and increased risk of type 2 diabetes, okay, because you're doing liver stress. There's hormonal disruption because cholesterol is the raw material for every hormone your body makes, including testosterone, estrogen, progesterone, and cortisol. Your body needs cholesterol, and your body needs cholesterol to make vitamin D.
I think of cholesterol as a building block.
Yeah. And folks, this is why the body is not going to make something that is toxic or poisonous to the system. It's just not. We have to step back and try to think logically about this. We're not, we're really ignoring. If the body creates something, you
got to see what it's there for.
There's a reason for it.
Yeah.
All right. So you shared a great story with your son. Do you see cholesterol with your other current with your other clients?
I do. I'm having
trouble getting my words out.
They come in, they're tired, they're foggy brain, some are losing muscle mass, they're struggling with mood, and hormonal balance. And they're being told it's just aging. They're waking up tired too. They're fatigued and worn out.
Yeah. I had the privilege of working with a woman who was mid 80s. I think when she started with me, she was 84. She's 85 now. And she came to me and she's like, Jeff, she goes, I'm worried I'm losing my memory, my thoughts, and all that kind of stuff. And so I work her through I did the workup on her as I do all my clients. Okay. I did the assessment, figure out what's going on. And in the assessment, I learned that she was taking taking statin medications. And I advised her at that time, then my recommendation is please go back to your doctor and tell them that you're on a natural health improvement program and you want their help to come off of the cholesterol. Because again, I'm not a medical doctor, so I can't tell people what to do or not do with their prescriptions. And so I advise them to work through with their medical doctor on that. And and so she did. Came back. The doctor had agreed. She came off of the cholesterol medications, the statins, and within weeks, her spirit and her energy and everything just came back.
That's awesome.
It was so remarkable, and to me, that's always a privilege to see that when someone's health like that comes back. You know,
cool. That's gonna be such a high for you too.
Yeah, it is. It jacks you up, and she was so thrilled because she could see it herself, and that's the huge part is when the clients can see the improvements themselves. They're driven more to be compliant with the recommendations that I'm putting together for a program for them.
Absolutely.
But it doesn't happen overnight, though, does it?
No, it doesn't.
It takes some time. So one of the things that gets looked at when they're doing studies on whether or not cholesterol meds work or should be tested, there's they call it a NNT, okay, number needed to treat. So the NNT data is damning in terms of statins. In primary prevention, meaning people who have not yet had a heart attack, you have to treat roughly 300 people with a statin for 5 years to prevent one cardiovascular event. The other 299 people receive no benefit and absorb all the risks in that study.
Wow.
And so it's crazy.
Go ahead.
Yeah, it's driven. It's driven by the pharmaceutical industry's own studies, many of which were funded by the manufacturers, used relative risk reduction to make the numbers look impressive, and absolute risk reduction tells a completely different story. Okay, so let's talk about what cholesterol actually does. You want to kick us off on this segment?
Sure. Your liver produces about 75 to 80% cholesterol in your body, and your body does this deliberately. The body does not make things it doesn't need. So that's an important key to remember. The cholesterol is a supportive backbone to every membrane that you have. Right. And without adequate cholesterol, cell membranes would become like rigid and dysfunctional. So
yeah.
And the brain needs it for thinking, like you said earlier. So the brain is roughly 25% cholesterol by dry weight.
Wow. And so low cholesterol has been associated with, here's the big ones, folks: depression, anxiety, aggression, and cognitive decline. Okay.
And every steroid hormone, testosterone, estrogen, progesterone, cortisol, HDAA.
DHEA.
Yeah, sorry, I always get that mixed up.
Yeah.
Is synthesized from cholesterol.
Yeah, aldosterone too. And I had a potential client ask a question on my social about what I would do to lower or to get the DHEA numbers in balance, um, I would my recommendation is always the same. I'm going to look at the health history. I'm going to do a full assessment, and I'm going to look at lifestyle and food. Okay, um,
And causes.
and causes. Yeah, the
Hmm.
root causes. So when you take cholesterol artificially, you're really compromising your entire hormonal system.
Hmm.
So, how does it help us with our digestion?
Well, we need cholesterol for bile um, and acid production, which is how you digest and absorb fat solubles like vitamin A, vitamin D, E, and K. And lower cholesterol equals poor fat soluble vitamin absorption,
Yep.
and that equals like downstream then uh, deficiencies across multiple systems. So it's going to affect multiple areas of the body when you have lower cholesterol.
Yeah, yeah, and vitamin D, as I said, is a cholesterol derived hormone. Okay, and so low cholesterol impairs vitamin D synthesis even when sun exposure is adequate. So you have to look at that. If you're taking a statin, trying to lower your cholesterol, you're going to lower your vitamin D. That's why a lot of times the medical profession is going to try to supplement you with vitamin D and CoQ10, and those are usually the synthetic forms of which they don't actually help the body.
Mhm.
Okay, and as we learned with some of the standard process supplementation, we can get actual real vitamin whole food complexes in these products. And and I've been using standard process in my practice for over 17 years.
Yeah, because there are some people that can go outside and have sun exposure and they can't do that breakdown to vitamin D. It doesn't, they can't absorb, they can't make that switch over.
Right,
And
right,
so they have to have a supplement to replace that vitamin D.
right. So what part does cholesterol playing with inflammation?
Well, cholesterol is part of the body's inflammatory repair response. So, like when your artery walls are damaged by oxidated seed oils, refined sugars, chronic stress, smoking, the body sends cholesterol to patch those damaged areas, and cholesterol is the repair crew. It's kind of like saying there's a fire, right?
Hmm.
And when there's a fire, and you see a bunch of firemen, you want to start saying that's the firemen that caused the fire. No, they're there just to put the fire out. So
Hmm.
that's how we have to look at cholesterol. So
Right.
if you've been thinking elsewhere, thinking differently, and this is new to you, you've been lied to.
Yeah. It's really phenomenal, um, how we've let this go on for so long. And so it doesn't, when I first started practice 17 years ago, I used to be nervous about telling people, well, you know, statins are bad for you and all that kind of stuff. And I've got enough confidence now in my practice. I know what I'm talking about.
Right.
Cholesterol, folks, is good for you. The medications to lower cholesterol is absolutely bad for you. And I'm sorry, but if your medical doctor is telling you that nope, that's the best thing since, um, then it may be time to find get a second opinion.
Well, and if they're a medical doctor, they should start finding out the truth for themselves.
Yeah, yeah. There's books out there, so many books out there now. There's one in a reference we can cite here called "The Cholesterol Myths." I've read this book. Came out in 2000 from Ravs Ravenscov. Okay. Um, and there's just more and more out there.
I also find that, to reference my comment I just made about medical doctors finding more information, I feel like, they go through all their schooling, right,
Hmm.
for years and years, and I feel like they walk away thinking they have obtained it all because they would have been taught um, about it if it was that important in their schooling, but because it's missing, and missing on purpose, I want to say, um, that they're actually
Right,
misinforming the public.
right. Yeah, it's a disservice. And and that's a great point. I don't believe medical people are intentionally going out there trying to hurt people. I believe
Right,
they got into the profession because they legitimately want to help people.
right.
Um, and but the system, the way the system has been training them,
Hmm.
teaches them other information that is not necessarily going to help them help people. I can't count the number of medical professionals I've talked to over the years that have switched over and converted over into holistic care because they saw
The need.
the need, and
Hmm.
they weren't resonating with the types of treatments that they were giving people. It felt wrong to them, and their eyes opened up and they were educating themselves and like, holy crap,
Hmm.
this isn't really helping people, so but the caveat there is, if I break my leg, who should I call?
I'm going to go to the hospital right away.
Right. Yeah, call the medical doctors, because the
Hmm.
medical community is so great at reactive care and
Absolutely.
trauma care and whatnot, so um, that's where I feel like I've been able to pick up the ball, is in preventative care and helping people even before they get to the reactive care, before they step into that reactive care model, because then they call that the medical meat grinder. Once you get on there, the medical meat grinder will chop you up. So go to website medicalmeatgrinder.com if you want to learn more about that. Um, so we've got 20 minutes left, 15 minutes left. Let's rip through our next topic. There are two topics we wanted to get into. Um, and we always, anytime we're traveling together and eating out, we sometimes use the salt shaker that's on the table. Is that helping us?
No, actually, oh, I should have pulled it out of my purse just right now. I have a little mini Redmond real salt too that I've been using. And I actually shook it in my water yesterday too.
Oh,
I don't
did
know if
you?
you knew that.
No, I
Yeah,
didn't.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
But not all salt is created equal.
right.
Right.
Yeah. So, um, tell me a little bit about the table salt.
Table salt, sodium chloride is your heaviest refined, and it's stripped of the trace minerals. It's often an anti-caking. It contains anti-caking agent inside it, along with aluminum. Sometimes you'll see on there titanium is in there as a preservative in the salt as well. And treating them equal is like saying like raw milk and Velveeta cheese is like the same source.
Right. Right.
Like it's just
Yeah.
not the same food.
Yeah. So it doesn't have the same substance as natural mineral salt
Mm-mm.
in there. They put it. I've seen salt packets. I think it was maybe at McDonald's, where if you look at the ingredients, it'll say salt and sugar.
Oh, I haven't seen that one. Oh, I don't go to McDonald's
I don't
either.
go to McDonald's either. It's been years and years since I saw that. And so there's salt hypertension research. Okay, I've dealt with this for years now. Clients come in and say that they shouldn't eat salt. They're trying to reduce their salt intake, and I just shake my head, and it's like, folks, it's not the salt
Mm-mm.
doing that. It's not the salt.
Well, it's another topic that they have been told by their medical doctor to stay away from, and we heard it in the 1980s prevalently.
Yeah.
Stay away from salt. And the only reason the only thing that I can I can agree with them on is the white table salt. So it's been bleached. It's got the heavy aluminum, titanium in it as well. So yeah, stay away from that kind of salt for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So the hypertension, this is why a lot of people come. They come with high blood pressure and things like that, and they're told they have risk of heart disease because their blood pressure is up. So they have to lower their salt. But the salt hypertension research that drove the low sodium guidelines was largely done using processed sodium in people who were already eating a high processed food diet. Okay. The salt in that context is one variable among many, and it's not the salt that we're recommending. Okay, we don't
Mm-mm.
recommend table salt ever. Okay, one of your favorites though.
My favorite salt is the Redmond salt.
Mhm.
It's mined in Utah, and it's harvest. And then there's Celtic sea salt that's harvested in Atlantic coast of France, and then there's pink Himalaya salt. But my favorite is the real salt from Redmond. It's got over 60 trace minerals in it. And all three of them have anywhere from 60 to 84 trace minerals in those salts. So there's different amounts in each type of salt that you're choosing.
Yeah. Yeah. And those trace minerals, that includes, magnesium, potassium, calcium, and silica. And those are minerals that work synergistically with sodium to help regulate the fluid balance, the nerve function, and blood pressure. So yes, I carry in my truck organic sea salt. Okay. At home I have the Celtic sea salt that I use. I'm gonna probably, as I run out of that, I'm gonna probably switch it up and move over to Redmond's salt. Those are taken from the salt flats in Utah. Uh, and so, but we need sodium. Again, this is not something the body is making to hurt the body, right?
Absolutely no. Sodium's required for the sodium potassium pump that governs every cell of your body. And that pump fires with like every nerve impulse in every muscle contraction, including your heart. So sodium deficiency does not, or a sodium deficiency does not protect the heart. It compromises it. So when people say to me all the time, when I'm asking them, do you salt your food? They're like, oh no, because I don't want to have, heart disease. And I look at them and I'm like, wait, what is your belief? Because I have to figure out what their belief is first of salt to have them make a comment like that. So then I usually say, I don't agree with what you've been believing or indoctrinated with.
Yeah. Yeah. So there was a landmark 2014 study published in the American Journal of Hypertension, analyzing data from 25 studies, found that both very high and very low sodium intake were associated with increased cardiovascular risk. So the danger is not high sodium, it is dysregulation in either direction. Okay. And so the people that were told to restrict salt the most aggressively are often the people who can least afford mineral depletion. And those would be your elderly patients, your heart failure patients, people on diuretics. Diuretics dump sodium and potassium. Then doctors restrict salt. Then patients wonder why they feel terrible.
Don't you find that interesting? So they tell them to avoid salt the whole time, right? And like you said, the first thing that they go in the hospital with, they're giving them an IV of sodium. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just think it's funny. Like, it's just a vicious cycle. But if they were to tell the public, this is what we're doing.
I know.
I mean, it's crazy, right?
Yeah. And so your salt craving, it's really a message that your body is trying to tell you if you're craving salt. Okay. And so when a patient tells you they crave salt, or when a client tells me that they crave salt, the conventional response is to restrict it. When the root cause response is to ask why. Why do you think that might be?
The adrenal glands.
Yeah. Tell me more.
So the adrenal glands produce, what is the word I'm thinking
aldosterone.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And that's a hormone that regulates sodium retaining in the kidneys.
Yep. Yeah. And so when the adrenals are fatigued or dysregulated, which is epidemic in chronically stressed, chronically sleep deprived, chronically over caffeinated population we live in, aldosterone output drops and the body loses its ability to hold sodium. Okay. And so the kidneys start dumping it and the body responds by craving salt. How many times have you craved salty potato chips?
A few times.
A few times.
Yeah.
Although I don't eat potato chips anymore.
I don't eat potato chips either.
Sometimes that's what I think about when if I ever feel like I'm craving salt. So salt's not an addiction. This is physiology, folks. This is the body asking for what it is losing. Okay. And so do we ever see stress patterns in our work?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. you want me to expound on that?
Yeah.
So yeah, like when we're doing a quantum nutrition testing assessment, or we're checking weekly in with our clients, um, people are presented with adrenal stress patterns, frequently low mineral intake. They're dysregulated in their sodium, magnesium, potassium, and the body is not in balance because it has too much salt, like you said. It's imbalanced because the adrenal kidney axis is not functioning
Right.
properly.
Right. And so we're picking that up energetically in quantum nutrition testing.
Mhm.
You know, no, we're not running lab tests every time we see people. We can muscle test this or quantum nutrition test.
Can I
The
expand on that too?
Yeah.
So a lot of times people are like, I was trying to tell my family member what you're doing and I don't know how to retell it. So this is how I kind of think of it. So when we're doing quantum nutrition testing, I'm thinking of it as frequency. So every body part, every organ, every gland has a frequency to it. And so as practitioners, we're testing by using quantum nutrition muscle testing. We're testing to see what the frequency is in each of those areas.
Hmm.
We would ideally want those areas to be a 10. And so when it's showing a low frequency, we know that it needs to be supported. So think of an area, we'll say, for instance, we'll go through a list of like causes of what it could be. Let's say it was maybe, we needed, the cause was chemicals or something. So we then match that frequency of the chemical has a frequency to it, and then we find a supplement that also has a frequency that cancels it out.
Yep. It resonates in the opposite polarity kind of
Correct.
thing. Yeah.
Right. Great.
Yep. And so restricting salt, when we restrict salt in an adrenally stressed client, it doesn't fix the adrenals. Okay. It compounds the deficiency and actually worsens the symptom picture. They're going to feel worse. They're going to have the fatigue, the dizziness upon standing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. They call that the orthostatic hypertension. When you're crouched down and you suddenly stand up, how many times have you ever gotten dizzy when you've done that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, me too. And so the good salt,
You even have
brain fog, yeah, brain fog. Well, their poor stress tolerance, disrupted sleep,
Mm-hmm.
and whatnot. So the solution is more salt in isolation, right?
No.
No? Okay.
Go ahead.
Well, the solution is not more salt in isolation. It's addressing adrenal dysregulation at the root while ensuring adequate mineral intake. Okay. Yeah. Keep just keep going, doing your thing. Okay. Um, and so the solution is, let's see,
It's not more
not
salt.
yeah, it's not part of the problem. Good
Yeah.
salt is part of the support. Okay. We're looking for good salt.
Mm-hmm.
And so what about what other thing comes up with low sodium?
It can also be linked to insulin resistance. It could be low, like having low salt intake can activate.
Oh, how do we say that word? Renin angiotensin aldosterone system and the sympathetic nervous system.
Yes.
Whew, I had trouble with that one. So both of those drive insulin resistance.
Mm-hmm. And so then you're going to have a dysfunction.
Yeah. So the diet being recommended to protect the heart may be actually worsening metabolic function.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, with that. And there's a bunch of studies out there. There's a book out there called Adrenal Fatigue, the 21st Century Stress Syndrome. I have that book on my shelf at home. Read it. That was in 2001.
Mm-hmm.
Go
ahead.
No, go.
So we're in the summer months, right? And so in the summer, we're going to be outside, we're going to be sweating, and you're going to lose sodium, potassium, and your trace minerals probably more than ever. And you spend more time in the sun. And then as you spend more time in the sun, your body is asking for exactly like more. Well, it's asking for more hydration, right? So we wanted to stay hydrated and make sure that it's not just water. So make
Yeah.
sure that we're getting our electrolytes,
Hmm.
and we're eating mineral-rich food.
Yeah. You can add mineral-rich salt to your water. I recommend typically LMNT, but there's for electrolytes. That one is a high sodium product. So if you're especially active outside and you're sweating a lot, the
Mhm.
LMNT may be the right electrolyte for you. There's all kinds of them out there. There's another one we're looking at from Redmond Salt.
Oh yeah, was it the chocolate one
Yeah,
that we looked at? Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, we tasted that back in at Eco, didn't we?
yeah.
Yeah, that was really tasty.
Hmm. Um, and so salt, it's okay, especially if you have an RO filter at home too. You can sprinkle in a couple grains of organic sea salt into your water, and that's going to restore some of the minerals that get sucked out during the RO process.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, I had Spectro. Was it Spectrumin
Hmm.
from
Energetics.
Energetics?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, so real hydration is not just water. Water without electrolytes, it's just going to move through you, folks. Mineral rich salt added to your water slows absorption and actually hydrates at the cellular level. Okay. And this is why athletes used to drink pickle juice.
Because it
Okay.
works.
Maybe that's why they created pickleball. I
You're
just thought of
funny.
that. All right. So for the summer, eat real fat this summer. Okay. Eggs, butter, meat, avocados, coconut oil. Your brain needs it. Okay. Your hormones need it. A vacation diet full of seed oils and refined carbohydrates, the standard eating out experience is going to crash your energy, spike your inflammation, and set you up for a rough return. Okay.
Right. And sunlight's not your enemy.
Sunlight is not your
So
enemy.
get outside and get some sunshine.
Hmm.
Yeah, because the sunshine, the light on your skin is how the vitamin D is made. So
Yeah.
when we have the sunlight, it helps the cholesterol to convert.
Right. So I should get outside and slather up SPF 50 on my skin, right?
Oh no, stay away from the sunscreen. That is just inflammation.
Yeah.
And then think about the chemicals. Would you eat that? Like, would you squirt it in your mouth and
Yeah.
eat that sunscreen? Because your skin is an organ. And so it's kind of think of it, if you're going to eat it, then put it on. So like tallow would be good too.
Tallow. Yeah.
Tallow, coconut.
The better idea, and we're not telling you to, people are like, hey, I'm going to be out in the sun. Work your way up, go in small increments with your skin exposed, get it used to the sunlight. And what's interesting is I know when a person eats a cleaner diet, the less oxidized materials, radicals are in their body, the
Right.
less they're going to sunburn.
Right. And what did we learn yesterday about, was it red beets?
Oh, red beets. Yeah.
How
SB red food. Yeah.
Yeah. So how red beets actually helps you not to burn.
Right. It's crazy stuff,
Mhm.
So movement outdoors, walking, hiking, swimming, working on the land supports your lymphatic drainage, your cardiovascular function, and your stress hormone regulation in no ways that a pharmaceutical can replicate.
Mm-mm.
Okay. So if you're on a statin and something in today's conversation resonated with you, the fatigue, the muscle aches, the fog, please bring it to a practitioner who will actually look at the whole picture. You deserve a real answer, not a prescription renewal. Okay. Give Christine Jennings a call. Give myself a call. Get on our calendars. Okay. And what's some supplement support we can consider?
Supplement support?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, practical like summer supplements?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that would be good mineral salt, especially if you're coming off a statin, that would be for sure.
Yep.
And then whether you're an individual that I'm working with or Jeff's working with, we would like to do an assessment.
Yeah.
Yeah, do an assessment and see what your body actually needs.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we covered a lot of ground today, Christine, and as always, I love having you on my show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. And yeah, it's just fun. I love getting together with Christine. And for people who know, yes, we're dating. Christine's my girlfriend. Don't tell anybody. Okay. I'm madly in love with Christine. So if you want, how do people get a hold of you?
They can call me at 219-863-1074, or they can go to my website, rinselearmassage.com.
Yeah, and here, let's post the website in the comments. Here we go. Type in your website there because people are going, how the hell do you spell Rensselaer?
Right?
Okay. And so that goes out. Oh, I don't want to share that. Rensselaer Massage. All right. And then you can go to my website too. And there's my website, folks. Thank you again for tuning in. And we're going to have to wrap this up because life is starting to turn on here at the resort that we're staying at. Let's close with a quick prayer. Heavenly Father, thank you so much for teaching us what we need to know about the real truth in terms of cholesterol and how it's used in the body, the real truth on salt and how it's used in the body, and the right kinds of salt. Remember, the body's not going to create something bad. You design the body to work perfectly, and everything it needs is there if we can allow it. Help us see the wisdom in that. And let's have a great week. Through your name, through your son, Jesus, we pray. Amen. Thanks, everybody. We really appreciate it. And thanks for coming back on the show. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me again, like I said.
Yeah.
See you guys.
We'll see y'all later. Bye.